Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 19th. This is the Local Government Committee. We also, for the record, we have a quorum present. Welcome back, everyone. With that, we'll put up the flag and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can please stand and we'll put the flag up on the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Just a reminder to keep muted unless you want to speak, and then raise your hand if you'd like to talk. We have 4 presenters this morning, and with that, I'm going to turn it right over to Gary Carlson with League of Minnesota Cities.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members, for inviting us to present today. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity again to be here today. I think you're going to hear from several of the organizations that represent local governments at the state capitol. And as you all know, because many of you have served in local government, we do have a very intertwined state-local partnership by which we raise revenues and provide services to Minnesota citizens across the state. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here and give you my PowerPoint presentation. And hopefully, can you see that shared screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I think Ms. White went through many of the forms of government and details about local government at the last meeting, so I'm not going to spend too much time going over some of the city basics, but obviously cities are one form of local government along with counties, townships, school districts, and in Minnesota we also have a number of special service districts across the state as well. Currently, there are 853 cities across the state of Minnesota, and as Ms. White indicated last week, there are 2 general types of cities, statutory and home rule charter cities. Statutory cities basically operate under Chapter 412, and home rule charter cities set their own essentially local constitution that obviously abides within state regulations of city functions. But let me give you just a few more details about cities that give you an indication of just what we do. Cities provide many services that citizens receive on a daily basis. So public safety, police, fire, EMS, ambulance type services generally are all provided by cities across the state. We also spend quite a bit of money just maintaining and upgrading our streets and highways. I should have said public safety generally accounts for about 1/4 to 1/3 of a typical city budget. Streets and highways, local roads, another big service, that's about 25% of a typical city budget. Recreation and cultural services for citizens, about 10 to 15% of a typical city budget. Another big activity for cities is providing economic development and housing related services. That's usually about 5 to 10, maybe 15% of a typical city budget. And then the broad category of health and sanitation, and then also general government make up the balance of what typically cities do. I should say, though, that also many of you are aware that cities generally also run enterprise operations and provide various services or various commodities on a fee basis. So we generally provide water and sewer services. We have a number of cities that provide electricity and gas services through municipal utilities. And we even have a few cities that either individually or in partnership with the private sector provide telecommunications and internet related services. And that has become a bigger issue working with the private sector to make sure that residents and businesses within our communities have the tools and basic infrastructure so that they can function, especially in this pandemic type of an environment. In terms of revenues, cities rely largely, as you know, on the property tax for much of what they do. A typical city budget is probably about 50 to 55% funded through the property tax. We have a number of cities that have special local sales tax authorizations made by the legislature. That's usually done in the tax committee. I think right now we have roughly 30 or 35 cities that have a local sales tax. And in all cases except one, those sales taxes are used to finance capital infrastructure, things like libraries, convention centers, civic centers, and so forth. The only city that has an authorization to use their sales tax generally is the city of Duluth, and they coincidentally were the first city authorized to do a sales tax back in the 1970s. So taxes are the biggest source of revenue. I should say smaller cities across the state generally are less reliant on tax revenue sources than the larger cities are. And I'll mention that in just a second, because the next source of revenue is state grants, which include things like local government aid. They generally make up about 15 to 20% of a larger city budget, but probably more like 25 to 30% of a smaller city budget. So many of those small cities that have tax bases that are not as strong as other cities do generally receive more state aid through programs like the local government aid program. And then the other sources of revenue for cities are generally charges for services that the cities provide. That usually makes up 10 to 15% of a typical city revenue stream. Licenses and permits, probably 3 to 6% of a typical city budget. And then for those of you who have served on a city council, you're aware that we also have the ability to specially assess property for certain types of improvements. We have to demonstrate a benefit to that property in terms of value increase, but we do sometimes use special assessments, although that is a declining source of revenue for most cities, just simply because it's very difficult to prove that the property value will increase by the amount of the assessment. So those are some of the broad categories of city spending and revenues. So let me move on. Again, the vast majority of the cities in Minnesota are smaller cities. 624 or 73% of our member cities across the state are under 2,500 population. The smallest city is the city of Funkley. That's in Senator Udke's district, and they currently have a population, I think, of 10 people. Interestingly, their population has doubled in the last 10 years. I think they were only 5 people in the last decennial census. Now they're up to 10 people. So a big growth spurt in the city of Funkley. Obviously, our largest city in Minnesota is Minneapolis, and they have just over 428,000 people. In terms of the membership of the League of Cities, 835 of the state's 853 cities are members of the League of Cities. The largest non-member city is under 200 population. And of those 19 non-member cities, when they call us for legal assistance for any sort of consult, asking questions about legislative activity, we always answer those calls as well. We consider essentially every city to be a member, whether they do pay or not. So moving on. The League of Minnesota Cities, well, this is our kind of our mission statement to promote excellence in local government through effective advocacy, expert analysis, and trusted guidance for all Minnesota cities. We were founded in 1913, so the league is just about 108 years old this year. We were actually formed as an adjunct to the University of Minnesota Extension Service, and we were formed at a time when government was looking to professionalize and find best practices on how to provide services most effectively and use citizen resources through their tax dollars most efficiently. So that's we've been along that many years. We have a governing board of 19 member city officials that are elected by our membership, and they represent cities all over the state of Minnesota, large and small. When we come to the state capitol every year with our legislative agenda, I just want to give you a little background about how we establish that legislative agenda. And usually in the months of July, August, September, October, preceding a legislative session, we conduct a series of policy committee meetings at the league. This year we did it all virtually, just like we're doing this hearing now. But we do basically use member input directly as the basis upon which we develop our legislative policy agenda. This last year, over 140 city officials across the state participated in our 4 major policy committees. We also have a series of task forces that study issues in greater detail. So we have a telecommunications task force looking at issues related to broadband deployment across the state. We have an elections task force that's made up largely of city clerks that have to administer elections. And that has become obviously a bigger challenge in administering elections under the pandemic environment. But basically, I want to just emphasize that our policies are developed by our member cities, and ultimately the committees make recommendations to our board of directors, and the board of directors considers member input, considers those policies, and ultimately in November preceding the legislative session, adopt those policies. And that becomes our marching orders as we come to the state capitol every January or February in the even number years. Let me just talk about some of our legislative priorities this year, so you're aware of our agenda generally. And this year, because of the pandemic environment and hearing from legislative leadership, our board of directors decided to focus in on a smaller number of issues for us to work on during the legislative session. Let me just assure you that anything that does arise in the legislative process that has an impact on cities, the league will analyze that legislation, discuss it with our city officials, and provide input to you as legislators. So we are not limiting our actions to just these topics that I'm going to discuss in a minute, but these will be the focus of our kind of proactive agenda at the state capitol. So the 3 major broad categories of priorities. Number 1, allow cities to adequately navigate and respond to economic challenges. And you all know that back in May, when the state Department of Management and Budget released that interim budget analysis, it sure looked as if we had a major state deficit looming, not only in the short term for the remainder part of this biennium, but also for the 22-23 state biennium. And that really raised many concerns among our member cities because we are recipients of shared revenues to provide our services. LGA right now provides $565 million to cities across the state to help them finance their operations. And we know that when the state hits the fiscal hard times, that frequently that becomes a challenge for our cities financially as well. So with that, we were very concerned about the future. Obviously, the November forecast changed that scenario quite substantially. We now have a small projected surplus for the remaining portion of this biennium and a much smaller deficit for the upcoming 22-23 biennium. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that we have the tools necessary to continue to provide our services. And let me also just mention briefly that we really appreciate having worked with all of you and all of the House members in the governor's office on the distribution of the coronavirus relief funds from the federal government. That was essential for our cities to deal with pandemic-related costs that were unexpected. And that really was a huge benefit. I know our cities across the state took advantage of those revenues to handle those unexpected costs. However, just looking ahead, we all know that the pandemic has not ended, yet that federal money has ended for local governments. And so we are going to be watching quite closely to make sure that we have adequate resources to provide the services that citizens expect our cities to provide. One of the things that will come before this committee and that we will watch every year is just looking for unfunded mandate proposals that may come to the legislature. We all have great ideas. I say we collectively, the legislature, local governments, lobbyists, others have great ideas of what we should be doing. And frequently, sometimes those ideas become unfunded mandates where we're expected to finance the cost of those concepts at the local level. So we'll be working closely with you as proposals come up for policy changes that may impact local governments. We'll be working closely to make sure we analyze the cost of those proposals, make sure you fully understand what it might mean for local property taxes if we enact various policy changes. Let me pause there to mention one thing, is that we still have some other mandates that have impacted city operations in the past, and one that has really become a major issue as we went through our policy process this year. And this is related to a requirement that we continue to offer public health insurance coverage for injured and disabled police officers and firefighters. This is an important program. We understand when those individuals are injured, we certainly want to make sure their families are maintained and that they are able to get health insurance coverage. However, the growth in this program and the impact at the local level has become very pronounced. And the state funding for this program has been essentially frozen for, I think, the better part of a decade, while the costs have increased rather markedly. And now we have, I believe, more than 500 injured officers and firefighters receiving that benefit. So we want to work with you to make sure that the cost of that program is more fully covered by the state, especially given the financial impact on especially small jurisdictions where if one officer goes out, it could really cause a city to have to reevaluate what public safety services it can in fact provide. One other issue that we're going to bring to your attention this year, and we brought to the committee last year under Senator Hall's leadership, was a bill to remove the local government compensation cap. Minnesota is the only state in the nation that has a limit on what we can pay our local government officials. And this has become a recruitment and retention problem for many cities across the state. The bill moved through the House and Senate last year and unfortunately did not make it to the governor's desk, and we'd like to pursue that again this year. Senator Kwasinski has already introduced the bill in the Senate, and we hope to have a good discussion in the committee when that bill does come up for discussion. We also want to, and one other issue that will probably come to this committee as well several other committees is we want to make sure cities have the authority to establish and collect infrastructure fees. One of the big challenges we face at the local level is as our cities are developing and expanding, we want to make sure that those incumbent businesses and homeowners are not basically having to subsidize the cost of new development, that in fact new development pays most, if not all of its way. And so we will be working with you all to make sure that we do preserve the authority to prevent shifting of those burdens to incumbent businesses and incumbent homeowners as well. So that's number one. Number two on our priority list is ensuring cities have the tools to effectively respond to COVID-19 and manage city operations. Many of you know that in the last couple of years, we have enacted laws that have allowed cities to conduct business remotely. Those laws have been extremely beneficial as we've all navigated the pandemic. There are a few tweaks to some of those laws that we do want to bring to your attention, and Irene Gao on our staff will be doing that with some of the open meeting law and data practice law changes that we think would be helpful for us. One example of that is that if a city is conducting hybrid meetings where some of the council is meeting in person at City Hall and others are participating remotely, perhaps because they have a health issue, they are limited in the number of times per year that they can participate in that meeting remotely. Given the pandemic and the health challenges that some of our city officials face, we would like to try to moderate that. We will be bringing a bill forward for your consideration as well. There are a whole host of other issues that have come to the forefront because of the pandemic. Broadband, the essential nature of internet access in this day and age, especially in the age of the pandemic, has been an extremely acute issue for many of our cities. Making sure that we have the adequate infrastructure in place so that businesses and individuals can conduct commerce, can participate in education, has become a huge issue. And I know that there are already bills introduced to provide additional housing or additional broadband resources. And we will be working closely with you as we move through the legislative session to make sure that those infrastructure needs are met. Housing has become.
So, we need to. Can you wrap up in about 3 or 4 minutes? I want to keep on schedule.
Okay, Senator. We'll be working also on housing-related issues, and again, as I said earlier, we want to continue to work with our congressional delegation and you on additional federal funding should that come down to assist with the pandemic. And then finally, partner to create safe and inclusive communities and address racial inequities. This obviously has become a bigger issue in the past year. Cities are working to make sure that, for example, we try to continue to address the public safety arbitration process. We made some changes in state law last year, but we want to revisit that to make sure that if we have somebody that is misbehaving, that we do have the tools necessary to deal with that. Also, housing, both affordable and workforce housing, has become a huge equity issue across our state. And we continue to work on both affordable and workforce housing related matters. And then finally, we want to work with the legislature to address racial inequity issues as you consider those throughout the legislative session. Let me wrap up by basically moving on and just mentioning that there's a whole bunch of different issues, state statute areas that we will be working on that will likely come to your attention. I won't get into all of these legislative issues, but we do cover the gamut of issues that impact cities across the state. And then finally, these are the legislative staff that work at the league and our issue areas. They are included in the handout we've given you. If you have any questions on any of these issues, if you just want to talk about the city perspective, want us to do any research for you on the city impacts, please contact the League IGR staff and we'll be glad to help you puzzle through any issue that comes before the legislature. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll wrap up. Thank you for the opportunity, and I can either stand for questions now or I will stay on the line and can answer questions at the end of the presentations.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for a great presentation and all the work your staff does. Any questions for the League of Minnesota Cities or Gary at this time? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next presenter and we'll do questions after each presenter. Anyone in the League of Minnesota? All right, again, thank you, Gary, and we'll move on to our next speaker in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, Matt, and start your presentation. The next speaker is Matt Hilgert with the Association of Minnesota Counties, and for the record, please state your name as you address the committee. Thank you.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Matt Hilgard. I work for the Association of Minnesota Counties. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see folks' faces, albeit virtually this year. I hope that changes at a future date. I also welcome you all because I think this is one of the few committees in the legislature that really has a great history of bipartisan work across the aisle and has a ton of local government experience on it. I know, Mr. Chair, you yourself as a former mayor, and you even have a county commissioner on this committee, which we're very excited about in State Senator Carla Bigham. And I think that should show no surprise then to folks, because at a local government level, we're forced and required to work on a nonpartisan, bipartisan basis to get our budgets and get the work done for the people. So it bodes well for us all this year, hopefully, in trying to push issues forward in a bipartisan manner. AMC, like the Association of our League of Minnesota Cities, is a nonpartisan, voluntary, membership-led organization. We were founded in 1909, and really we split our work between two facets. one being membership education and development, and the other being policy advocacy. And that first part is extremely important because our goal, similar to the League of Minnesota Cities, is to really create effective, responsive, responsible county governance on behalf of Minnesotans. And so a lot of our work is dedicated to providing education and training opportunities for elected county commissioners and their staff. And frankly, even this week, we have a multi-day training for our newly elected county commissioners, kind of a county commissioner 101, for everything from open meeting law and data practices to how to effectively budget for departments. And so that is most of our work. A contingent of our team is our policy advocacy team, which I have provided on our policy handout for members. It has all of our contact information, but we try to serve as county's voice up here at the Capitol. And as you'll see, many of the bills that are introduced at the Capitol, I think Gary Carlson has a great list that he usually keeps, the Excel document. I think last biennium, we had over 4,500 bills introduced in the Senate. Several of those bills, many of those bills, probably more than 1,000 of those bills impact local governments. And so really our voice up here is really to try to protect our local governments from things from unfunded mandates or cost shifts that we know will have a disproportionate impact on either services or property taxes. Counties are interesting because we are a large form of government. We are an arm of the state, but we're also kind of invisible. And frankly, a lot of folks don't really know sometimes what counties do or how they operate. And I know members of this committee are familiar with some of the services that counties operate, but I'll just give a cursory overview of some of the highlights. As you know, counties in Minnesota are unique in that they are kind of the administrator of many of our social safety net services. Minnesota is unique at a nationwide basis. Not all states do this. Many states run their own programs, but in Minnesota, we're one of, I think, less than 10 states that say, nope, we're going to run all these social safety net programs through our counties because we, one, think it's more efficient, and two, we think it lends a local voice that makes the services better. Counties also operate jails, corrections services, probation services, as well as public safety through their county sheriff's departments. Like cities, we have a significant part of our budget is dedicated to infrastructure projects such as highways, county roads, transit, regional trails, parks, bike paths, and pedestrian paths. We are the main administrators of the property tax system in Minnesota through our county assessment work and work along with our county auditors and treasurers to make sure that property tax statements are out and include, we usually are the one-stop shop for all property tax complaints because it comes from the county heading, even though it has all your other taxing jurisdictions on it. So we like to think that we're those first responders for any questions about the property tax system, not necessarily questions as much as complaints sometimes. Election administrators, as you know, your local governments are the main folks who are responsible for administering our state, local, and national election systems. County libraries, solid waste management. Some counties even have recycling centers that they do on a multi-county basis. License centers, vital records, land departments, ditch inspection, maintenance, broadband infrastructure, housing, and many other services. And I testified in the House committee, your House counterpart, the other day, and I said every day that list grows of things that counties and local governments do. And the other day I found out that counties are also responsible for indigent burial costs. So that is, if a family doesn't have the means to provide burial for their family member, counties come up and pick up those tabs. So again, it kind of underscores the safety net kind of core that is counties of providing services to those in need. This year has been particularly busy for county governments. And really, it's been all centered around responding to the pandemic. And when I say this year, really all of 2020 and continuing into 2021. As you know, many counties run local public health departments. And so they are responsible for contact tracing, assisting MDH in those efforts, and will be assisting in the vaccination efforts. But also, as members of this committee are familiar with, counties had $467 million advocated to them through the CARES Act, through Senator Rosen's work and Representative Paul Marquardt's work on providing guidelines to what that program looked like. And that money was spent in a very consolidated time frame on services within the community. In addition, more recently, legislators voted to appropriate $116 million to counties for county business relief grants. That was the work, again, through Senator Pratt, Representative Baker, and Senator Champion. And it kind of underscores kind of the strong role. I mean, that's more than $500 million that county governments across the state have had in supporting their communities during this time. And I'd be happy to take questions later on about what those efforts entail. When we move on, I'm moving on to some of the latter parts of my presentation. That's really our work within this committee's jurisdiction. I want to thank this committee because, again, it's worked in a bipartisan fashion, historically speaking, and we've passed some significant things. I see Senator Howe on the screen today. You know, Senator Howe and AMC, as well as the League of Minnesota Cities, worked on veterans preference modernizations over the course of 2 to 3 years. Senator Jasinski and AMC worked on county row officer appointment. That took, 3 or 4 years as well. And so we have a good history on this committee of trying to figure out problems and issues on behalf of Minnesotans and getting them across the finish line. For this year, counties are really prioritizing responding to the pandemic. And in this committee's context, we think that there's amazing opportunities to modernize government. And we can get everyone on board and shaking their heads to modernize. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Let's make government more efficient. But we know that there are folks on both sides of the aisle when we bring these solutions forward. Some of those issues include county waivers to services. Since counties are the kind of arm of the state and administer many of the state's mandates around social services, we have found and we have been granted temporary waivers for conducting a lot of these services electronically or remotely, or having a lot of the application slash administrative burdens done remotely. And we think that in this time we have proven we can do it efficiently and safely and securely, and we'd like to extend many of those services to be a permanent basis. Very recently, Senator Warren Limmer in a separate committee worked on marriage license certificates and being able to do that remotely. We think things like this are just good governance and more efficient on behalf of Minnesotans. Remote meetings, the League of Minnesota Cities, we would completely agree with their efforts on trying to strengthen the ability for local governments to harness new technologies to make their meetings more efficient. I would also say that there's a cost context, and that's something that this committee will have to evaluate too. Many counties operate in joint powers through their social services or local public health groups. Those joint powers could have Kitson County coming down every month to Renville County. That's how wide and expansive those joint powers are, trying to be efficient on behalf of Minnesotans. The mileage for that, you can imagine, is several $100s for these meetings. So is there a way that through joint powers we could expand the scope of open meeting law to include at least remote participation for some of those venues? We would be interested in discussing that. The last thing that I would mention is publication requirements. And this is something that might be a multi-year effort as well. It's something that the Association of Minnesota Counties has reached out to the Newspaper Association with. Typically, our two entities are respectfully have different opinions on what we should do with these. But I think we'd like to get together and actually work on trying to figure out some modernization things that we can do with this statute to make it more efficient and also purposeful on the things that we are publishing. So hopefully we will be working on that throughout the coming years. In closing, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity today. Also, please see us as a resource. We are nonpartisan associations. We've been around for over a century, and we've been around that long. One, because we represent elected members of your communities, folks that you bump into at your grocery stores, that have a good pulse on your communities that you represent here at the state legislature, but also because our job is to get your resources. Regardless of whether the bill that you're running is something we oppose or love, our job is to get you information that you need. So please see us as that resource. Thank you very much for your time today, and I'll be happy to stand for questions at the end.
Thank you, Matt, for your presentation. First, Senator Bigham.
Mr. Chair, I can wait till the end, but my questions were specific to Mr. Hilgard, so it's up to you.
You can go ahead with your question.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Hilgard, for testifying today. One thing that has been huge during this pandemic is their partnership on the local public health side of it. They have done just tremendous work, and they're a vital part of getting the vaccines out there, a vital part of getting this virus under control. And so I think we need to be mindful of that, Mr. Chair, when looking at policy, when we're looking at the budget. Also, community corrections is a huge part. Now, I know that you're like, yeah, Senator Bigham, we've got other committees that deal with those specific issues. But when it comes down to the governance and structure of those programs, it is your jurisdiction. So that's why I bring those up that are huge, hugely important. A couple other things. You know, I represent, and I used to be a county commissioner on Washington County, and they have a double, triple bond rating. So they have triple bond rating in both AAA bond rating in both houses, bonding houses. Dakota County has zero debt, Mr. Chair. These counties are lean, mean government machines, and they are administrative. They get a lot of pass-through money. And the one thing that I get frustrated with up here is we don't highlight enough the good things they do. And then when somebody like Mr. Hilgard or his wonderful staff come forward, they kind of encounter resistance, and they do such great work at the counties, the electronic filing of marriage applications. We shouldn't have a sunset on that. We're going to be dealing with that in a couple hours here, Mr. Chair. We should have that permanent because they can do it and they can do it well. Same with electronic notary. And I can go on, notarization. I can go on and on and on. But I hope we sit in this space for a while, Mr. Chair, and give them that efficiency, that effectiveness that they have to save money, as Mr. Hilgard has said, because these guys are kind of cheap. Not going to lie, they don't have money. And so I think let's let them do their job and administer it. But I hope we highlight some of the wonderful things that these counties do. And I asked for 3 sessions in Senator Ingebretsen's committee to hear about the wonderful work they're doing from the money we give them on invasive species, for example. They do tremendous things. We should hear from them and then build on them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Senator Bigham. Senator Uyghur.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Priority one, I think, for all of us is navigating through COVID-19. As tens of thousands of Minnesotans will be calling a number at noon today or going on a website to try to get in the queue for the vaccine, I would like to get Matt's reaction to whether there needs to be any red tape cut, any greater efficiencies. It might be in terms of who's administering the vaccine. We were in the Ramsey County delegation met with Ramsey County staff. I think there were some suggestions that done for flexibility. So that's my first question. And second, briefly, though we don't have jurisdiction on elections, there's still a great deal of discussion regarding the most recent one. Are you aware of any fraud in Minnesota election, in the 2020 election?
Hilgard.
Thank you for those questions, Senator Uyghur. On the first question regarding local public health, as you know, our roles are pretty expansive on this, not only assisting with education and kind of being the one-stop shop for questions within the community, but also contact tracing, helping with housing. If folks need food during their time of quarantine, we're delivering that, and now vaccinations. I'd like to get you, I have a cursory overview kind of in education about this issue, but I'd like to get you in touch with our local public health association director, if that's okay, because I think Carrie Oldfield is her name, and she'd be much better at getting you the information that you're seeking. On the second issue, yes, you are correct. We work very closely with Senator Kiffmeyer's committee in state government, finance, and elections now, a new name this year, updated name. And I think our county commissioners across the state, and certainly on our board of directors, are extremely proud of the work that local government election officials did this last year. And I have to say, I appreciate the bipartisan accolades you as senators have given them too, because this year it's not easy running an election in normal circumstances, especially during a federal presidential election year. This with COVID and the safety mechanisms we had to put in place, and the fact that we still had to recruit hundreds, if not thousands, of election judges to do their jobs during this time, I think it's a testament to two things. One, the voluntary service of just Minnesotans in general, and stepping up to serve, and also local governments working together to do what they do, which is serve the people of Minnesotans and fulfill their task at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we're going to go on to our next presenter from the Association of Townships. We have Steve Fensky.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, right.
Okay, thanks for having me. My name is Steve Fensky. I'm with the Minnesota Association of Townships. We are a nonprofit member services company. We represent 1,780 townships in the state. That's all but one of them. That's about 9,000 elected officials, and they have about 925,000 residents that live in townships. And quite a few members of the committee here have at least one township in your district, and you may know something about it. We are the only statewide Township Association. So if you do have issues or questions related to townships, we are certainly a resource that you can use. Hopefully a one-stop shop for you on that. Our mission is primarily educational and charitable. We spend a lot of time working with our township officers, training them. We do roughly 30 to 40 in-person training events in a normal year. This is we're going to be in another not normal year. And we've tried to adapt doing online trainings, a lot of phone calls. We have one after this meeting, in fact, today. And those are being well received by members. They're getting good information still. We have a lot of published works on our webpage. We do some books that we also provide to townships that all aim to help them do their job more efficiently, learn new ways of doing things, try to offer best practices, and help make this as easy as possible. Most don't have staff, so it's a difficult thing to start and get into, and there's a lot to learn, steep learning curve when they get into it. Our association also operates the insurance trust for the townships, and we administer workers' comp and property casualty coverage for them at lower rates. Most of our townships participate, and that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90%. We also provide constituent services. We serve as the voice for townships at the Capitol, and we answer calls and emails and questions from legislators and staff. So again, any questions you have, please reach out to us and we're happy to help you or put you in contact with someone who might know the answers. Sometimes you may have an issue in one of your townships. We're happy to hear about that and see if there's something we can do to help solve that problem. I'm going to take a moment to explain townships. I know some of you know well what they are, but others don't. If you're like me, I grew up in the Twin Cities and didn't really know what a township was until I started doing this. Townships are local government. You can think of them very similar to the city layer of government. We have the counties everywhere, and in some places you have cities, while in some places you have townships. Their powers and duties are related to the problems they have to solve, which are largely rural, agricultural or mining, those kind of issues. So whereas the cities, you have powers that deal with population density and providing services. So it's very similar to that idea, very similar to what a city would do, just different powers. A township is usually 6 miles by 6 miles square. That's not a hard and fast rule. Some are smaller because of cities that grow and annex township property, and others are much larger. If you look in the far northern counties of the state, you'll find some townships that are maybe 4 to 5 typical townships in size, and they're able to do that. It all depends on what people in the area would like and what they need for their township size. And one note on that, some areas you'll see what are called unorganized townships. Those aren't really townships at all. It's a confusing name. If you see that, just think unorganized territory, meaning there's no local government except for the county. That's completely county managed. So if you see town or township, those are interchangeable. They mean there's a local government there that the people have formed for themselves. And if you see unorganized township, think unorganized territory. That's the county. Talk to Matt. Okay. If you have problems there, we'll certainly try and help you if you call, but chances are we'll end up sending you to AMC on something like that. So in a township, they elect representatives. They have a 3 supervisor board or a 5 supervisor board. And this is like a city council or county commissioners. It can be 5 members if the voters choose that. There's several optional forms of township government that the voters can choose for themselves. One is to expand the size of their board. Another is to have their clerk or treasurer become appointed rather than elected. And a third option is to combine the clerk and treasurer positions into a single position. Again, those are voter powers. And what you're going to start to hear is there's a lot of voter control in a township that you don't see necessarily in other types of local government. Most of them will do their elections in March. Second Tuesday in March is Township Day, and townships, 2/3 of them have their local elections on that day. The other third have their election in November, along with their other state and local offices. But the other thing that happens on that second Tuesday in March is something called the annual meeting. And at that annual meeting, the voters get together. It's a town hall style meeting. They get together in one place. This year, some are going to be virtual, and they talk about issues in their township. And they have a series of powers that they can exercise. There's things that they can switch on or off for their elected officials. The most important thing they do, and the thing they do every year, is to set their levy. They're the only group of Minnesotans that I'm aware of that has a direct vote on their property tax. And it's a pretty amazing power to watch. These folks go into the meeting and they hear the proposed budget and they have a debate, and sometimes they raise taxes on themselves. And that's an unusual thing to see, but it means they had trust in their local government. The local government is doing something well. They were able to show people, here's why this is important and you should pay for it. And we've seen the other side. We've seen where they reduce their taxes. A couple of times I've seen them zero out their taxes for the following year. And that's a pretty unusual thing to see. It's a very powerful voter tool. There are other things they can do in that meeting as well. As far as legislative priorities, the chief one for townships is always township roads and transportation issues, because we manage 55,000 miles of road. That's a lot of space to deal with, and so a lot of that gets focused on managing that infrastructure. But in this committee, what you're likely to hear are issues that generally keep local control and let townships operate in the way that they think is best for them and for their citizens. They are very responsive. You'll find maybe there's somebody calls up with a problem with the ditch, the culvert is plugged. In other forms of government, you have departments who can come out and handle that. Well, you might have an elected supervisor coming out and shoveling out your culvert. It's a very different model of government and more personal in some ways. One of the issues that you will hear come up, again, open meeting law that you heard about from Gary earlier, that's one that we have a lot of interest in. Another one is annexation. And what our townships are looking for there is a little bit more fairness in the annexation model. Annexation is the process of taking some property from a township and moving it into a city. And sometimes that makes complete sense. They're going to develop, they want city services, or they have some purpose to be in the city. That's understandable. But sometimes the model doesn't make so much sense, and our townships are looking for some changes in that. We also are looking for a continuation of the town aid formulas that provide funding to them. And that's because townships are about 75% property tax dependent. And as you get more public land that's non-taxable, that becomes even more of a problem for townships. So beyond that, the final issue I'll mention is broadband. Townships are the places that remain unconnected. If you look at the Office of Broadband Development maps that they have, you'll see the areas in red. The areas that are not connected are largely townships. And our members for years have said that's a priority for them. They don't want to be left out of that any longer. So we're asking for the $120 million, the same that the Governor's Task Force on Broadband has recommended for broadband deployment over the next biennium. And Senator, with that, I'll stop there and take questions if you have any.
Thank you for your presentation. First one, Senator Bigham.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Fenske, for being here. I have 2 townships, and it was a challenge with the election this year. I had a call from my township because in the office with them, they have the town hall. That's like the government building usually there. And it wasn't big enough to do social, and I'm in the metro area. And so they couldn't opt to do an all mail-in election. I'm wondering if you guys have a position, or if you could help me have a meeting with Senator Kiffmeyer, allowing the metro area townships to be able to do the same thing the outstate townships are able to do, which is if they elect to do an all mail-in ballot, they can. I'm going to be introducing a bill on that when I get it back from the reviser, but it's an important issue in equity as well. So I was just wondering if you guys have a position on that.
Yes, Senator Bigham, we do. Our organization encourages townships to keep a polling place, but certainly, again, in local control, if any township, regardless of where they are, wants to go to mail-in, they have good reason for that usually. And we take the position that they need to trust their local officials on that. And so we'd be happy to work with you on that bill.
Thank you. Senator Howe.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here, Steve. I asked a question of the townships regards to those mail-in townships as mail-in ballot townships, and I'm looking for that response. So if you could look into that, and I'm looking at the cause and the reason why they shifted. What was the main reason they shifted to a mail-in ballot? Was it lack of volunteers? Was it a cost issue? Because we should actually, and whether the township residents actually preferred one over the other. So we should get to the grassroots of those questions, and so we can actually formulate a good response. So I'm looking forward to that response. I've asked that question over a month ago and haven't received it yet.
Thank you, Senator Howe.
I want to follow up on that as well. I have several township residents that were upset of the decision to do all mail-in ballots. They didn't feel like they had a say on that decision, what they could do. So obviously there's two sides to this. We have to listen to both, but I've heard frustrations from both sides that, how the decision was made and how we go forward with this if it would happen again.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, it has been an issue. Folks like their polling place. No doubt about it. And that's why we've taken the position that if towns can offer it, we'd like them to continue offering it. But if they can't, and this was an unusual year, for most, the reason was that they weren't certain they could get election judges. And we started early saying you need to call around and get the certainty that your election judges are willing to serve. And a lot of them had trouble with that. And even looking for replacements throughout the county, some couldn't find them or didn't feel comfortable dealing with that. Others didn't want to be in a public space at all, whether they were the election judges or the administration officials. Okay. Others said, we really just don't want to have the back and forth with folks about wearing a mask in the polling place or not. That's a difficult thing for some folks to do, and so it's a number of issues that came up. We've encouraged them, if they can, if they want to, when it's appropriate, return to your in-person polling place. We also tried to make sure folks knew that even if they didn't have an in-person polling place in the township, they could certainly go and vote at the county seat, or in some places they have an alternative location. So if they were concerned about mail-in voting, that's fine. They can go to a place and take care of that and ensure that their ballot gets into a box the way that they normally would. I'm happy to continue that conversation with both of you, though.
I'll go to Senator Uyghur first and then Senator Bigham.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Steve, in past sessions, we've had some spirited discussions on the preemption issue. The classic discussion of local control versus what's perceived as a level playing field by regulating at a state level, precluding or preempting the local official from weighing in. Your thoughts on any re-emerging issues on that?
In general, we oppose preemption. I suppose it's case by case. Certain things that make sense that you want parity or equality, or you want some baseline. And I can't think of an issue offhand at the moment. But if one came up, we could look at that. And there may be ways, rather than full preemption, of what are the guardrails that you want, and find what are the important pieces that you're trying to install, rather than a blanket rule. So I guess I'd look at it as what's the particular issue and what's the least restrictive way that you can get what you're looking for on the state level and still provide control to local communities.
Thanks, Steve. Senator Bigham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think just based on the questions that both you and Senator Howe and myself have all brought up, I think there is room, space, a discussion to maybe get a process put together. But I was going to, and Mr. On the early voting thing, I'll finish my thought before I move on to the next one. And Mr. Fenske mentioned at the end of his comments, what I was going to say is people that want to vote in person can go to the county building and do that. And another reason why we should allow direct feed balloting the whole time during early voting so that people can make sure it goes into the machine. So I think there are a lot of things, Mr. Chair, that we can do, especially in this area, that maybe we send over to Senator Kiffmeyer's committee. But I believe they actually are not controversial. They are hugely efficient for local government. And I hope we do spend some time in this area, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Sen Bigham. I think that's it for the township. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
And our last presentation today is by Metro Cities, Patricia Nauman. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. It's nice to be here with you this morning and to listen to this good discussion and the other presentations by the local government organizations. I appreciate your time also this morning. And congratulations to you, Mr. Chair, on your new role as chair of this committee. Just very briefly, Metro Cities, and our legal name is the Association of Metropolitan Municipalities. We do use Metro Cities because it's a little bit easier to say. It's not 17 syllables, and it's less prone to sort of the acronyms that can be kind of confusing in the legislative environment. So Metro Cities is a nonpartisan association that represents the shared interests of metropolitan cities at the legislature, the executive branch, and the Metropolitan Council. The association was established in 1974 after a few iterations as first a suburban league, or first a section of the League of Minnesota Cities, and then a suburban league, and then finally a metro-wide association. The jurisdiction for Metro Cities membership is the 7-county metropolitan region. Membership in the association by cities is voluntary. The membership currently encompasses over 95% of the region's population, looking at it that way. And also, I will just point out, Mr. Chair and members, that Metro Cities is the only metro-wide entity that monitors and advocates for the interests of cities at the Metropolitan Council. And it was a key reason for the creation of the association back in the early 70s when the Metropolitan Council was coming into being, and just the nexus of issues with the regional level of government and local governments in the region that are subject to its powers. The association is governed by a 19-member board of directors. That board includes both elected and appointed city officials, and the association does have a permanent staff of 4 persons, 3 of whom lobby at the Capitol and executive branch and Metropolitan Council. Just very briefly, and the development of our policies works very similarly to the processes used by the League of Minnesota Cities, and that is that city officials in the association's membership do come together annually. Once the session is over, we pretty much start on this process where city officials develop and recommend the association's legislative policies. And those are the policies, once they're recommended, they basically get a very thorough review, they get debate, they get language recommendation, and then those recommendations go to our board of directors and to the association's full membership. And then once everything is finalized, it's what we use to, it serves as the foundation, the underpinning of all the work that Metro Cities does at the state capitol and the Metropolitan Council. Just very briefly on that too, well, I'll just say, so the policies do address a range of concerns. There's probably over 80 policies in all. They address everything from transportation, which is a key issue for the association, housing funding and resources, revenues, taxes and aids, things like local government aid, municipal street aid, police and fire aid, and so forth. Also, local decision-making authority is a key issue for the association. I know you've talked about that this morning, heard that from other associations. I think if you were to read through our policies, you would find that local authority is a pretty strong thread that runs through most of the policies. The Metropolitan Fiscal Disparities Program is a program that Metro Cities in particular takes an interest in. Wastewater funding, environmental policies, capital investment funding for inflow and infiltration, and so on. So there's a variety of policies that do pretty much cover the gamut of local government issues. And really the association takes some of the issues, of course, are statewide that we deal with at the legislature, but we take view sort of the perspective of metropolitan cities. And some issues in particular really do have either a metro nexus or there are particular metropolitan concerns, kind of depending on the policy and the conversation that might be at hand at any given point. Some examples of Metro Cities policies with nexus to the work of the Senate Local Government Policy Committee do include, this is not a full list or a complete list, but they do include, again, sort of state mandates and local authority. This can be anything from land use and zoning authority, the management of local public rights of way, it might be levy setting and control over local budgets, and so on. But that is a key fundamental tenet that local government officials feel quite strongly about, is maintaining that authority. The governance of the Metropolitan Council is Metro Cities does have a policy. That's something that gets certainly it's had a lot of legislative play in the last few years. The association does have policies on the governance of the council, and also policies that policies that relate to statutory concerns and governance of the council itself. Things like local comprehensive planning, the sewer charge are a couple of examples there. Again, the Metropolitan Fiscal Disparities Program is something that we have a longstanding policy on. Building codes, peace officer arbitration reform, organized waste collection, open meeting laws, elections, you've been talking about that a little bit here this morning, are all things that the association does have policies on that relate to the work of this committee. I will stop there, Mr. Chair and members, and I'm certainly happy to take any questions about specific policies or the work of the association. And again, thank you for the opportunity to present to you today.
Members, any questions? Seeing no hands. Thank you, Ms. Nauman.
Question?
Go ahead, Senator Uyghur.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Nauman. Do you have any initiatives related to the Metro Council this session? And I know there is another Senate committee on Metro governance or subcommittee. I'm not quite sure how the jurisdiction is going to work, but over the years, there's been a number of initiatives, addressing this, but wondering what you might be advancing this session.
Mr. Chair, Senator Uyghur, thank you for the question. So in terms of, for example, the governance of the Metropolitan Council, and thank you, Senator Uyghur, you've carried legislation for Metro Cities over the last few years. One of the priorities for the association is, let me back up for a second. Recently, the governor called a Blue Ribbon Commission to study the Metropolitan Council, its structure, its operations. And the work that came out of that committee, the recommendations that came out of that committee do largely mirror Metro Cities policies with respect to the governance of the council. And that is for 4-year staggered terms, as well as an expanded nominating committee. And that's the committee that does recommend members to the governor for the Metropolitan Council, an expanded committee with a majority of local officials, as well as making sure that the process for selecting the members is transparent. So we have been, that is a priority for the association. We are considering now whether it might be timely to reintroduce that bill again, and I can certainly talk with you about that. The other, with respect to, I think that would be an initiative for the association. The other pieces of policy that have nexus with the Metropolitan Council that we have as priorities this year are certainly support for inflow and infiltration, funding for metropolitan cities. This is usually done through the capital investment bill, as well as making sure that cities and the council, so cities in the metropolitan region and the Metropolitan Council do work very closely on basically land use issues. So one of the priorities that we have is making sure that those local control pieces around land use and planning are protected. I wouldn't consider that necessarily an initiative, but it is a priority for the association this year to make sure that we are working to maintain that. But it's really the governance issue, Senator Uyghur, that I'd be happy to talk further with you about. That I would anticipate it would be timely perhaps to introduce that again, given the Blue Ribbon Committee's work.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Nauman. We'll follow up. And a reminder, I think everybody knows, but council members are subject to confirmation by this committee and the full Senate.
Thanks, Senator Uyghur. So I see no other hands. Next week we'll have a meeting. I believe we have 5 more presentations. Mr. Reisner, can you go over the 5 so people know who will be here next Tuesday?
Sure, will do. Yes, we have the Metropolitan Airports Commission, the Department of Administration Data Practices Office, a presentation on open meeting law. Also 3 other local government organizations, Minnesota Intercounty Association, the Minnesota Association of Small Cities, and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities.
Okay,
Got them all.
Thank you, Mr. Reisner.
Yep.
Any last questions before we leave? Seeing none, with no further business on our agenda, we are hereby adjourned.